Okay, so the World Trade Organization just dropped its latest annual report, and it paints a picture of a global trading system that's, well, it's at a major turning point. It's a story of incredible success, but it's also overshadowed by some of the biggest challenges we've seen in decades. So let's break down what's really going on and what it all means for the year ahead.
I want to start with just a number, 1.5 billion. Just let that sink in for a second. It's a massive figure, and what it represents is even bigger.
Because that's how many people have been lifted out of extreme poverty since the WTO was created about 30 years ago, thanks in large part to global trade. It's a pretty powerful reminder of what the whole point of this system is supposed to be.
But you know, to really get a grip on the challenges it's facing today, we have to go back to basics for a second. What does the WTO actually do? What's its mission?
Think of it like this. The WTO runs the global system of trade rules. It's the essential framework that helps its 166 member countries trade with each other as smoothly and predictably as possible. It's kind of like the referee and the rule book for the global economy, all designed to use trade to create jobs and ultimately improve people's lives.
Right, but that very system, it is now under an immense amount of pressure. And the language that leaders are using to describe what's happening, it's unusually blunt.
I mean, listen to this quote from the WTO's Director-General Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. She says the system is facing its worst disruption since the Second World War. She's pointing to this huge risk of the world splintering into separate competing trade blocs because of political tensions. And this isn't just some abstract theory, it has very real, very measurable consequences.
And you can see the impact of that warning right here in the hard numbers. WTO economists were originally forecasting a pretty healthy 2.7% growth in goods trade for 2025, but with all the new tariffs and this growing uncertainty, they've had to slash that forecast all the way down to a 0.2% contraction. That's a nearly 3-point swing. It just goes to show, when businesses have no idea what the rules will be tomorrow, they stop investing today.
So with the stakes being this high, you can bet all eyes were on the WTO's big meeting, the 13th Ministerial Conference, or MC13. This was supposed to be the moment for all the members to get together and figure out a path forward. And, you know, there was some genuinely good news.
Here's another number for you, 166.
That's the new grand total of WTO members. At the conference, they welcome Comoros and Timor-Leste. These are the first new members to join in almost 8 years. In times like these, that's a huge vote of confidence in the whole idea of a global trading system.
But the overall result of the conference, well, it was a mixed bag, to say the least. On the one hand, you had some clear wins, like the new members and extending a key deal on e-commerce. But on the other hand, there was total gridlock on huge issues like agriculture and fishing subsidies. It perfectly captures the tension right now. The system is still important, but getting everyone to agree on anything is getting harder and harder.
Okay, so we've been talking a lot about high-level policy and negotiations, but what does any of this mean for actual people on the ground? It's so easy to get lost in the jargon, so let's look at the real-world impact.
Which gets us to the most important question, right? Does any of this high-level policy stuff really matter to a small business owner or an artist or a farmer? Well, let's look at a really specific example. This is the story of a company called Ecuadorian Taita. It's a family business that works with 400 women artisans who make these amazing traditional straw hats. Now, they had a fantastic product, but they were really struggling to reach a global market. So, through a WTO-supported program called Aid for Trade, which helps developing countries build up their trade skills, they got training in things like e-commerce and digital marketing. The result? In their own words, their online sales have grown exponentially. This is just a perfect, ground-level example of how the WTO's work can empower real small businesses.
And of course, global trade is so much more than just physical stuff you can put in a box. The trade in services, we're talking about things like tourism, finance, IT support, that part of the economy is absolutely booming right now.
In fact, trade in services grew by a really strong 9% in 2024. Travel is making a massive comeback, up 13%, and computer services aren't far behind at 12%. These kinds of digitally delivered services now make up more than 14% of the world's total exports. It's a huge and growing piece of the global economic puzzle.
So, where does that leave us? We've got this system that's delivered unbelievable results over the decades, but now it's facing fragmentation, political pressure, and gridlock on some really key reforms. What happens now?
The Director-General actually ends her message on this really fascinating, almost paradoxical note. She says that maybe the one silver lining in all this chaos is that it's forcing everyone, governments, businesses, you and me, to remember just how valuable a stable, predictable, rules-based system actually is. It's like we didn't realize how much we depended on it until it started to show cracks.
And that really leaves us with the final, big question. In a world that feels more and more divided, is it enough to just defend the stability we once took for granted, or does the whole system need to fundamentally change to build a fairer, more inclusive future for everybody? That is the challenge that the WTO, and really all of us, are facing heading into 2025.